Joining me now is UFC Strawweight Ashley Yoder, who's going to help me preview UFC Vegas 49 going down this weekend. And we're also going to dive into UFC 272, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal right around the corner. But first, Ashley, I want to talk about you and your career, obviously out in California at Team Quest. We haven't seen you in a little while. You were supposed to be fighting in January against Vanessa Demopoulos, but that fight was scrapped. I believe you had a little bit of an injury. Can you just give me a little bit more as to what's going on right now in your career and where your health is at right now?
Man, I'm so sad not to be actively fighting right now or even on any upcoming events that are lined up. I broke my shoulder after my last fight in July. I broke my humeral head. I had torn labrums, torn rotator cuff, I actually broke my leg as well. Recovered everything except for the shoulder. I just had shoulder surgery in December. I'm not really big on putting my injuries out there, but I actually have another surgery scheduled next Tuesday. So probably end of summer is what we're looking at. So I've just been really battling this shoulder issue, trying to figure out what the actual issue was, and then having surgery, and the surgery kind of didn't take. So we have another surgery lined up. But yeah, hopefully, I'm trying to be optimistic at this point. You can only be so upset and so frustrated for so long before it like drains you, all the human out of you. So I'm looking forward to, end of summer, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Please pray for me.
Yeah, right. Geez, that's got to be, frustrating for you just mentally to have to go through all of that, right? And try to stay positive. Has that been the hardest part of all of it?
Yeah, it really has. Just because, as you know, I love being active. I love being in the gym. I love fighting. I love putting on performances. And, it's my first injury that I've actually had to I couldn't find a loophole around. Usually we can find these little, oh, I can't do this. I can do this. And it seems like your shoulder is dictating for running, dictating for everything that you do. And it's super frustrating when you have to put yourself back and kind of sit down. And then just working on the mental part of fighting, right? Getting that side kind of worked out through this time of sitting down. Yeah, it's definitely been a battle. It's my first, I'm 33 years old. It's my first surgery I've ever had. I'm already on my second one before I'm 34. So it's definitely been frustrating. But the positive side, the UFC is taking really good care of me. They're making sure the right guys are handling me now. So I'm very grateful for that.
So you talked about the previous injuries before this shoulder issue that you're having. How are you healing up as far as the injuries prior to that?
Yeah, I'm really good. Everything else is good. My leg's good. Even the bones healed. It's really just right now, labrum, rotator cuff, and my bicep is actually torn from post-surgery situation. So yeah, other than that, my whole body is healthy. I'm doing a lot of just body weight things like squatting. So, just building that booty. I'm gonna be ready to kick someone's head off, I feel like, because my legs are really strong right now.
So what can't you do for MMA training? Obviously, if you're building the lower half of your body, that's kind of like your priority. But what is it that you definitely can't do as your shoulder has to have surgery?
I have not been on the mat since July. I have not been able to train. So, I shadow box with movements in the mirror and think about punching, but it's really held me back. I can't. So, I do still teach jujitsu, believe it or not. I'm just able to talk to girls through things and, everything like that. So same thing with kickboxing when I'm teaching it, they know what I'm talking about. I can't really get into particulars on detail with crosses, or jabs or things like that. But, yeah, I'm able to still work, but train, it's just lifting at this point. I ride the bike. That's about it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, I wanted to get your take on Vanessa Demopoulos. That was supposed to be your opponent that you were going to face in January. She looked pretty good her last fight out. What was your takeaway from her performance?
She's a newcomer. We're all tough. So nothing to take away from her. There wasn't a fight that I was even, I want to fight someone with a name. I feel like I've been in the game for a long time. I deserve that. And yeah, she's a good fighter. It is what it is. So whoever's next, I'll be waiting for them.
Also, I wanted to get your thought process on what you learned from your losses to Angela Hill and Jin Yu Fry most recently. Tough fights, and obviously Angela, a veteran like yourself. What did you take away from those ones?
With the Angela fight, I was really disappointed just in the fact that like mentally when I went in, we got called on a week's notice. It got canceled the day of the fight. So I think coming back into that fight, I was mentally kind of like uneasy and I just couldn't get it together. When you could see in my face that I just wasn't able to click things in. I still got takedowns, which is better than I could say against Fry, but I just wasn't there. And Fry, I was battling injuries, going into a fight camp, you have bumps and bruises. You just don't realize how bad they are until you're in that fight. Yeah, so it's been a rough year that year. 2021 was not an easy year. But I'm looking forward to, the end of 2022, mid 2022, coming back and being stronger than I ever have mentally, physically. And I really love to perform. I love to make an exciting fight. I'm not one to just pick, easy fights or there's no easy fights, but I like exciting fights. I like people to test me and I'm always ready for the next exciting fight. So, yeah, I'm just looking for the future and not really focusing on anything in the losses in the past. So
Absolutely. And you said you want to fight someone with a name. Can you give me a name? Is there someone that you feel like would make sense for your return fight?
I was actually supposed to fight Carolina. That was supposed to be before the last fight that I had. She didn't want to fight until summer, and it looks like I'll be ready in summer. So if she still wants to fight, I think that would be a great fight for me. I just, anybody that's willing to come in and fight, like, and have a great fight, I'm down to fight. So I'm excited about the future. And man, there's so many prospects right now. There's so many great girls in our division. There is no one in our division that I could even say anything bad about because I feel like they're all really putting on for the strawweights, and that just does the best for it. Brings in, us at a higher wanting. People want to see the strawweights fight because they know we're ready to bang. So I'm really excited about the division, and I think it's up and coming. So I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. And your current contractual status right now with the UFC, how many more fights do you have left on your deal?
They just re-signed me.
Perfect. So is it a 4-fight contract?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. So
Thanks.
that's great news. Was this just recently? Because I haven't heard about it.
No, yeah, it was coming into this last fight. That would have
Okay.
been my first fight on the contract.
Okay. Well, good for you. That's exciting. I know
Thanks.
the fans are pumped to see you back in action. Tell me about Team Quest. I know you said you're teaching jujitsu, but you're just, kind of verbalizing right now because you can't get on the mats. How often are you actually in the gym there?
Jiu-jitsu I do at Checkmat. That's a separate gym. But Team Quest, when I teach cardio kickboxing, I teach lifting, and that's still my team. So I'm in there every day. Dan's usually in there helping the team out too. So we still have a few of us around. I do a lot of cross training. I've been going to Denver and CSA, of course, up in Oakland. So I'm all over the place when it's time to train. I've kind of learned over the last couple of years that, I've been at Team Quest for 10 years. So you kind of have to branch your wings out and try new things and do your camps other places and get new just visions on what I look like and what I can work on and, new techniques and things like that. So I'm always excited and I feel really blessed to be in the position that I am today.
What is it like to be around Dan Henderson? Obviously a legend of the sport. What is he like now? And is there any chance that he'd ever consider, making a comeback?
Absolutely not. He would never. The man is done and he's just living his best life. I always call myself the daughter that he never wanted. And it's kind of funny because he would probably say the same. But yeah, he's a great coach. He's a great mentor. The man knows a lot. Like you could, hey, tell me about this position, and he'll go on a tangent for 20 other positions. So, he just is a book of knowledge, and I'm so grateful to have his guidance throughout my career. And I always try to make him proud. So he's definitely like a father figure in my eyes, but also an amazing coach. And he's in the gym. When Sam had a fight, the dude might be retired for a few years, but he'll come in and start trying to knock everybody out. So, but I just don't see him coming back. He's definitely in a happy place, I think, in his life, and fighting's not something he needs right now. So
Yeah. Understood. He's accomplished enough in the sport, so happy for him, and I'm sure the future is still very, very bright. How often do you see Jared Bandera? I love him, and I know he opened up his new gym. He's like a big, gentle giant when you talk to him. Tell me what it's like being around him if you are.
So I do. I mean, prior to him actually being signed to the UFC, I actually introduced him to Jason um, House to get part of Iridium, and he just took off from there. Right, he got on the Contender Series, really showed out. Got to find the night bonus. I mean, he's a stud of a kid. I've been a training partner with him. We always call each other twins because our birthdays on the same day. Yeah, but dude, nothing but good things come from him. He's a very sweet, kind-hearted person that works hard. And before he was in the UFC, man, this dude was in South Africa one weekend winning a belt. He was all over the place. And I'm like, dude, how are you not in the UFC? Like, he just needed an opportunity. And I think he's still, I mean, he's young. He's 27, I think, 28. He has a whole career ahead of him. And I just really hope that he gets that opportunity to shine like he needs to in the UFC, because he is a special person for sure.
Yeah, really close fight with Orlovsky last time out. I'd love to see that one run back. Give me a name or two that people don't know about that might be, an up and comer or an amateur coming out of Team Quest that, could make a splash here in the near future.
I've really put an emphasis on one of my main training partners, Trevor Wells. He just fought and won. He's fought combates a couple of times. He's a 25er, really explosive wrestler, loves to strike, always throwing like Superman punches and crazy things like that. So he's a fun guy to watch. And I always tell everybody, man, if he just gets the opportunity to be on the Contender Series, I think he would really show out, because he's a special one for sure.
All right, I'll have to keep my eyes and ears peeled for him. When you look at just the way that the sport of MMA is evolving now, Ashley, like where do you see it 10 years from now? I think back to 2010, 11, and how fast it's grown. Like, do you think MMA, and in particular the UFC promotion, is just going to be rivaling, the NFL, the NBA here soon?
Oh, absolutely. Like how much it's grown. I think the pandemic, as much as it was a detriment for most of the society, I think it was such a success for the UFC, especially because, when all these other sports weren't able to actually compete, UFC was on everyone's television. I will tell you, just social media and recognition from the pandemic, I've had more followers and fans that have come to light since the pandemic versus being on the Ultimate Fighter for 12 weeks on television, being in people's faces, being on pay-per-view. I feel like the pandemic really dialed people in, and now people are interested. And then you have these celebrities that are now backing it up, and they're like, oh, they're watching it, I want to watch it. So, and you have these fun rivalries. You have the Jorge Masvidals and the Colby Covingtons and the McGregors, and the Nate Diaz is back and Nick Diaz is back. You have so much excitement in this, and hopefully Joanna will be back soon. And I just, there's so many positive things that are coming out of the MMA world right now. And I think for the UFC, it is nothing but up for the future. So I'm excited for it.
I completely agree. Let's dive right into UFC Vegas 49 going down this Saturday at the Apex. Main event is Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green. And of course, he's stepping in on short notice to replace Beneil Dariush. A lot of people are kind of writing Bobby Green off, which, I guess I could see why, because of how Makhachev he's so tough, but Bobby Green is a dog. This guy is just such a durable veteran, and he's going to come to fight. So break this one down for me. How do you see this main event shaking out?
I feel like he's an African-American Nate Diaz. If you want to be like, you know what I mean? Like he's down to fight anybody. And let's be real, getting in someone's head is a real thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Islam is not one of those that can be swayed by the social media aspect, but there's a little bit to be said that someone's coming in on short notice and not only coming at you, coming confidently. And, I saw just the interview with DC and Islam the other day about how Bobby Green has a background in wrestling, and is whether Islam wants to respect that or not. You have a guy that's really great boxing and confident in his boxing, probably more confident than Islam, and you have someone that's really good at taking someone down. But you also have someone, Bobby Green, that can defend that. So I mean, I'm nails biter because I'm excited about this fight. I think it's going to be a fan favorite fight. I think it's going to be easily one of the best fights of the year. I'm really expecting fireworks for this fight.
So do you think that this fight goes the duration, or is there going to be a finish?
I think there's going to be a sub. I think there's going to be sub. I mean, I want to see a KO on Bobby Green. I think, he's part of the team, home team, Iridium. But I also think that, Islam has really shown out his jiu-jitsu and his skills to submit people. So I do feel like it's going to be a submission, but I hope it's a KO.
So if you were going to bet money, you're going with Bobby Green losing this fight.
Bobby Green, you have to bet the underdog, man. This is like this, guys. If there's a bet to be made, I always say this is a bet to be made. Like I said this about the Amanda Nunes fight and her last. I said if there is a bet to be made, this is the one to do it. So yes.
Yeah, well, you can make some big money betting Bobby Green. That's for sure. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Bobby Green win this. I just don't think he's going to. I think Makhachev is really on another level, and I think we're going to see him in a title fight at some point soon. I mean, that most recent victory over Dan Hooker was very, very impressive, and I think a lot of Dan Hooker. So this right here, if Bobby Green can pull this upset and get the win, I think it has to be one of the bigger upsets of the year. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're not wrong. I agree, and I think it's going to be one that's going to be in a lot of conversations post-fight. So I'm excited to see what happens. Bobby Green is coming in so confidently, and I love it. Like it's not often you have fights that are like this level. I mean, it's an ESPN Plus card, but I think it's going to really bring a bunch of eyes to this card. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be fireworks, and I hope Bobby Green gets that KO.
Okay, I'm with you there. Let's move to the co-main event. Misha Cirkunov, Wellington Turman. This is a middleweight bout. This one is intriguing to me, and I've been a big fan of Cirkunov for a while now. He's got a lot of power, and when he's losing to like legitimate, top-notch fighters like Jocko, Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, But he's had some big wins over Jimmy Crute, Patrick Cummins. This is an interesting matchup with Wellington Turman. Their records are pretty similar. Turman coming off that split win over Sam Alvey, which I'm sure maybe you don't agree with that one. But break this one.
Do you agree? Let's ask you.
Yeah.
How do you
I
feel
love
about
Smiling Sam. Yeah, Smiling Sam's my guy. I've interviewed him a handful of times, and yeah, I'm always rooting for him. But this is an interesting matchup with these two in the middleweight division. Break this one down for me. Put your analyst hat on. How is this fight going to play out?
Well, let's talk about Turman. I believe, in that last fight, even if, let's just talk, I'm biased, right? Sam's my brother. But let's take the bias out of it. If you looked at that fight and you had 2 points deducted on a close fight, even if you were losing that close fight, how did you lose that fight? So technically, they're both coming off wins, correct? I don't think Turman's coming off a win. I think it was a tough fight for him, and I don't see him taking this win. I think, I think he got lucky with Sam, and I hate to say that. I'm not the person to be that way because I've had decisions that could have been either way, right? Like Randa Marcos, I could fight both sides of that. I could say, yeah, she did win. I could probably have won. So, but I think he's not going to come out on top on this one. I think he's just the full skills. I think he really exposed his full skill set with Sam, and he's a powerful guy. Don't get me wrong. He has elbows. He has clearly finger pokes. Like there's a lot of things that he has, but I just don't think he is going to take the win on this one.
Yeah, I do agree with you on there. If he did lose that fight to Sam, that would have been 3 in a row. So if he loses this fight, good chance the UFC could cut him. He lost to Andrew Sanchez and Bruno Silva, both in round 1. Since you mentioned Alvey here, what is the deal with his contract right now? Is the UFC, did they re-sign him or because I haven't heard? I
believe he had one more fight on his contract. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't talked to Sam personally, but I'm assuming they're going to probably let him fight his contract out. He's a vet. I don't know for sure, but I haven't really spoke with him. He's not at our gym as much because he's in Tennessee. So you're going to have to get him on here and talk to him about that. But hopefully they give him another fight because he's always a fun one to watch, Like he's like my brother to me, but he's always like a nail biter. Like you're waiting for that one punch knockout, and he will fight anyone. And that is not a ploy. He definitely will. So it's he's always a fun one to watch.
Yeah, fun fact, he made his UFC debut in my hometown of Bangor, Maine, and I was in, I think, the 4th or 5th row for that one with my father watching him. So he got the win too. So
nice. Yeah.
Always like watching Smiling Sam get in there and compete. Now there's a female bout on this card, 125-pound Priscilla Cochuera, Ji Young Kim. I don't know Cochuera quite as well. Do you know enough about this matchup to tell me how this one could shake out?
Well, I don't know as much about the Brazilian. They're both Brazilian, actually, aren't they?
Uh,
Um,
Kim is Chinese, I
or
believe.
not Kim. So Kim goes to Couture, right? Or not Couture. She's in a gym. What's the other Vegas gym? I think she was on the bus when I was fighting Frey, and she had just came over. I think she's under John Wood, and he was like, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think she's a really good boxer.
Yeah.
And the other Brazilian, I believe, she's the eye poker. She was eye poking Jillian Robertson in her last fight multiple times, I believe. So I think this is going to be a stand-up fight. I don't think we're going to see any takedowns. And I definitely think this Kim is a diamond in the rough, if you will. I think I've kind of looked her up a little bit and saw a couple of her fights. She looks like a really strong striker, if I can remember correctly, if that's who I'm thinking of. But yeah, I think anytime that they put a girl card, a girl fight on any card, you have to watch out, because I feel like girls always bring it. And that's not just to say it because I'm a female fighter, but we all know it's true. We're out for blood. So
Syndicate MMA.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
It took me a minute, but my goodness.
I believe she's training out of Syndicate. Watch me completely be wrong, and I'm so sorry if I am, but I'm pretty sure she was with John Wood she was going to the PI. We were on the bus together, and I remember meeting her. So
gotcha.
I think it's going to be she's one to watch it for sure.
All right. Is there another fighter or a specific, matchup that really stands out to you in this card? I can tell you, for me, I'm really excited to see Terrence McKinney back in there, and he's got a tough fight in Fares Ziam. So that's a fight that I'm really zeroing in on. But is there anything else that stands out to you here for UFC?
No, I think Terrence McKinney is going to come in with that. I mean, what does he have? 3 KOs back to back right now?
Yeah, that kid's an absolute monster.
He's fun to watch. Like, those are the
is.
explosive fighters that come and bring it. And it's always cards like this that, like, I always tell people, like, it's the cards that, are ESPN Plus cards that aren't really getting promoted like the other cards that really bring the fights. And I've not been wrong this year. I feel like every time it's an ESPN Plus card, fighters come to fight, and they don't care if there's fans there, so I'm excited about this whole card. There's a few people of course, I'm still learning, don't really know their names, don't really know their backgrounds, but you have the few people that are going to bring eyes to the card, and that's how you get known, man. That's really how you get that fan base, is they're there to watch someone else, and they're watching you, and then you perform. So I'm always excited about the undercards like this, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that all goes down on ESPN Plus this Saturday from the UFC Apex. And then right around the corner, we have UFC 272, March 5th. That's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And for my money, this Colby Covington Jorge Masvidal fight is hands down one of the fights I'm looking forward to more than most any other on this whole 2022 calendar. And I don't think it's going to be as competitive as some people might think. I think Colby Covington is going to win this fight and win it handily. When you look at that matchup, 2 former brothers that were basically best friends and training partners that live together, and now they're enemies and they can't stand one another, it just builds for such an epic main event that you can't miss. How do you see this one shaking out, and who do you feel like is ultimately going to get their hand raised?
Okay, so I'm we need to talk to some of the teammates, like who was winning in sparring practices. Like, that's how I'm going to put my money on this bet. But no, I'm a huge Jorge Masvidal fan, but I do believe what Colby shows up will dictate this fight, right? And let's be real, if you watch the Usman fight, he didn't use his wrestling. Like, you didn't use a wrestling. At the time he tried to use his wrestling, it was done. Like, it was like 4th or 5th round. You try to shoot, got hit in the head, so I really feel like unless he brings that wrestling from the beginning and really gets a takedown, it could be a really, really fun fight of just watching 2 guys beat the living crap out of each other. And hey, that's what we're all really about, right? So I'm excited about this fight. And I definitely want to say heart going to Jorge Masvidal, money's probably Colby Covington. And that's how I feel about it.
That's what a lot of people are saying. And so the way that I view this one is that is Colby going to fight smart, or is he going to go in there and fight for the fans and look to knock Masvidal out? Because I feel like the only way Masvidal wins this fight is if they just stand and trade. And we know that Masvidal is going to ton of power. If Colby utilizes his wrestling, and I think we've seen a lot of videotape previously of Colby kind of ragdolling Jorge and double legging him and getting him down whenever he wanted to, that's his clear cut way to really win this fight. But this is one of those fights where Colby might just be like, let's stand and bang. And that's what the fight fans are going to love to see. So to me, it's either going to go one or the other ways.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I hope it's the later of the two. I really hope that they just want to stand and bang. I mean, I feel like Colby's a real big guy for fans and wants to really feed that performance. So, but I was really the Usman fight really like made me look at him a little bit differently. I feel like their first fight was so much closer than their second fight, right? So I really just who shows up, and hopefully they stand a bang. I think that would be such a once again one of the best fights I think of the year if they do that. So it could be a really firework type fight, or it could just be a one-sided fight of taking them down and ragdolling them, as we've seen in some of their training videos. So hopefully we see the fireworks side of it, but you never know.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. The co-main event, we got Rafael Vaziv and the former champion RDA. RDA he's got to be pushing 40 at this point, and he's still out there, one of the best around. Does he still have enough left in the tank? And he's coming off a split win over Paul Felder. Do you think he can get it done against Vaziv?
I don't know. I hope. I think RDA is definitely that split decision over Paul Felder. That was Paul Felder, in my eyes, is one of the greats. So once again, it's going to be a great fight. I'm really excited about this whole card completely through and through. I think it's going to be one of the, what is this, the third card of the 2022. I'm really, really, really excited about it. And I hope that it's as fireworks as the Paul Felder fight, because that had me biting my nails the whole time. It was just a really exciting fight. So hopefully that kind of energy is brought to the co-main and main event, and it's just a really great night of fights.
Yeah, and that fight right there, Fazeev, he's on a 5-fight win streak, wins over Brad Riddell, Bobby Green, Moicano, Diakese.
Those are tough guys.
Yeah, a lot of tough fighters there. Another guy I just wanted to get your take on, Kevin Holland dropping to 170, making a run at welterweight against Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Do you think he's going to look good at 170? Obviously he's tall, he's long, he'd be huge for that weight class. Do you feel like this is the right move for him?
Cowboy has good jiu-jitsu though, and I feel like we've seen that's where some of the holes in Kevin Holland's game are the ground side. And he's really taking that torch, and he's amplified that's his weaknesses, and he's really worked on them. So hopefully coming down in weight, he's gonna be stronger, longer, and just more well-rounded. But jiu-jitsu mat time doesn't lie, and we've seen this over the years, like these guys that have been Charles Oliveira, these guys that we almost count out because you're like, they're just not really handling themselves. They come back with these submissions, and jiu-jitsu doesn't lie. So I really feel like I'm a Kevin Holland fan, but I don't know if he's going to be able to pull that one off on Cowboy.
All right. And I don't mean to skip over this one. Edson Barboza and Bryce Mitchell. Talk about an interesting fight, stylistic matchup. One guy is a ground fighter. The other guy likes to stand up. How do you feel like this one is going to play out? Is it going to be on the feet? Is Barboza going to get a KO? Or do you feel like Bryce Mitchell is going to get this to the ground and sub him?
Man, to think that they're even in the same weight class is kind of mind-boggling because of how big Edson Barboza is. But Bryce Mitchell is something special. And when he gets someone to the ground, how many twisters does he have? He's like record holding for twisters in the UFC. So, man, I'm going to go Bryce Mitchell submission. Okay.
Any other fights on this card that stand out to you? I know my guy Dustin Jacoby is fighting Michael Olajaychuk, Tim Elliott, Tager Olembikov. I butchered that last name, but a lot of great.
Better you than me.
Yeah. I think you have to take an actual class in like MMA fighters' names. There's just so many complicated names to say. That's why John Anik is the best. But any other fights on this card that you can think of that really stand out to you?
Not that I can think of. I'm really excited about this whole card. And like I said, from top to bottom, I think it's going to be fireworks. It's a really great pay-per-view fight. So just looking forward to watching hopefully we get some submissions in there, some jiu-jitsu, but also I'm all about like ground and pound, punching people. So I love all aspects of MMA. I always think about like, would I be able to be a boxer? I'm like, no, I love jiu-jitsu and takedowns too much. And then I was like, well, would I do like just jiu-jitsu tournaments? I'm like, no, I want to punch people in the face. Like, so I'm MMA through and through, and I'm really excited about this whole card. So
Awesome. Well, both of these cards, UFC Vegas, UFC 272, are going to be bangers. I really appreciate the time today, Ashley. Appreciate you diving in this and breaking them all down for me. Before I do let you go, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media. And if you have anyone to thank, any sponsors, the floor is yours.
thank you so much. I would love to thank my management team, Iridium Sports. They always put on for all their fighters. They have the most fighters in the UFC, and they really show out for all of us. No one's left behind when that comes down. Thank you for your time. And also, I'm mostly active on Instagram. It's Spider Monkey Yoda. I'm also Ashley Yoder MMA on Twitter, and Ashley Yoder MMA on Facebook as well. But mostly active on Instagram, as most people know. So just love to laugh, and I'm excited for this next surgery to be done. I never thought I'd be excited about a surgery, but I'm really excited for the future and being better to get back in there and perform. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me.